Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the Bodal Chemicals Limited Q2 FY22 earnings conference call. This conference call may contain forward-looking statements about the company, which are based on the beliefs, opinions, and expectations of the company as on date of this call. These statements are not the guarantees of future performance and involve risks and uncertainties that are difficult to predict. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on your touchtone telephone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Ankit Patel, Executive Director of Bodal Chemicals Limited. Thank you, and over to you, sir. Mr. Patel, please go ahead. Ladies and gentlemen, kindly stay connected. We check the line for the management. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. We are good to go. Can I start?
Please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. On behalf of Bodal Chemicals Limited, I extend a very warm welcome to everyone for joining us on our call today. On this call, we are joined by our CFO, Mr. Mayur Upadhyay, and SGA, our investor relationship advisors. I hope everyone had an opportunity to go through the financial results and the investor presentation, which has been uploaded on the stock exchange and on our company's website. We will give you a quick overview of the recent developments in the chemical industry and our company, and then Mr. Upadhyay will walk you through the financial performance for the quarter. The industry highlights are manufacturing parks in China have been forced to close, and some are closed temporarily due to lack of electricity because of the power outage. China's most industrialized provinces like Jiangsu, Zhejiang, and Guangdong are the hardest hit. There has been an impact on the global supply chain as well as various commodity prices. Around 20-25% of China's chemical output is expected to be impacted. Hurricane Ida, which has hit the United States recently, has further reduced global supply of bulk chemicals. Due to labor shortages and container shortages, freight and logistic costs have been rising in the recent months. Due to the confluence of the several factors, the global demand is currently being met by a rather limited supply at elevated price. At Bodal's overview, with over 3 decades of experience, Bodal Chemicals Limited is India's largest integrated manufacturer of dyestuff and dye intermediates. In domestic market, our market share stood at 13% for dyestuff business and 20% for dye intermediate business. In global market, our market share stood at 3% for dyestuff and 6% for dye intermediate business. In today's environment, where Indian suppliers are emerging as preferred partners globally, we have been able to leverage our leadership position. We have meaningful capacity across various products to serve demand of end-user industries. Basic chemicals such as sulfuric acid, chlorosulfonic acid, oleum, beta-naphthol, acetanilide, and others, which are used as key raw materials in the production of dye intermediates, are part of our core product portfolio. We are expanding our product basket and including benzene derivatives and chloralkali products, which have applications in pharma, agrochemicals, paper, and other industries. We are moving towards a very focused mindset and adding additional capacity across multiple products. This quarter's performance is consolidated net revenue for the first half FY22 stood at 900 crores, which is highest ever half-year performance for our company. This growth was primarily driven by rising demand from the end-user industry and structural demand shift due to global supply-side tightness. Various events in China and mounting freight costs have disrupted the regular trade and entered into the steep inflationary pressure on key raw materials. We will touch base each business verticals and the recent developments. First of all, dyestuff. End application industries like textile, leather, paper, other dyestuff consuming industries have been doing well during the last few quarters. All leading textile companies are having a healthy order book, which has stemmed the demand of dyestuff products. Dyestuff business growth has amplified and registered revenues of 317 crores in first half against 143 crores in the first half of last year. In dyestuff, all major products like reactive dyes, acid dyes, liquid dyes have performed well. We foresee this momentum to continue as the textile industry is showing a healthy momentum. Dye intermediate sector. Being an integrated dyestuff manufacturer, we produce 25 dye intermediate products, and over 40% of these intermediate capacity is captively consumed, resulting in a significant cost advantage for our dyestuff products. Other than our captive consumption, we also sell our dye intermediates in both domestic as well as global market, and we enjoy leading position in the domestic market. This segment also witnessed a healthy trend. Prices of our key products like HSC vinyl sulfone have moved northwards, especially during the month of September 2021, which will get reflected in Q3 FY22. In Q2 FY22, the average prices of vinyl sulfone and HSC were around 231 rupees per kg for vinyl sulfone and 379 rupees per kg for HSA. Dye intermediate business has registered a revenue of 314 crore in first half FY22 against 195 crore last year. Basic chemicals. We manufacture a spectrum of basic chemicals like sulfuric acid, chlorosulfonic acid, oleum, beta-naphthol, acetonolide, which again help in terms of vertical integration for dye intermediates and help in improving profitability of the company. 48% of the basic chemicals capacity is captively consumed for dye intermediates production. Thionyl chloride has witnessed good performance during the period quarter and expect the momentum to continue in the second half of this year. Our overall basic chemical segment contributes around 10% of our total revenue. Chlor-alkali business. In Q1 FY22, we acquired our Rajpura Punjab unit from Mawana Sugars. This unit produces various chlor-alkali products like caustic soda, stable bleaching powder, hydrochloric acid, sodium hypochlorite, chlorine, spent sulfuric acid, etc. The Indian chlor-alkali industry witnessed strong tailwinds for the quarter, and demand for caustic soda, our key product for this unit, continues to remain elevated. Caustic soda prices also saw a spike in Q2 FY22. This unit works on a very old technology, and we have earmarked a capex of around 125 crores for upgradation, which will also help in increasing caustic soda capacity to 99,000 tons per annum from the current capacity of around 55 to 60,000 tons per annum. This is a new segment for our business, hence year-on-year comparison is not possible, but we are excited to enter into this segment at an opportune time. Overall, our chlor-alkali business is flourishing well. We are primarily serving the northern belt of India, where most of the renowned FMCG, textile, paper manufacturers are located. Our presence in North India has been growing since the acquisition of this unit, and at full capacity, we expect this unit to generate additional revenues of around 300 crores and EBITDA margins of around 20 to 22%. Benzene derivatives and sulfuric acid. Our Saikha Greenfield project is in progress, and we plan to have it operational by Q3 FY23. Under benzene downstream products, we will be manufacturing MCB, PNCB, ONCB, MNCB, DNCB, PNA, 2,4-DNCB, and MPDSA, having a capacity of 80,000 tons per annum, which are used in pharma and agrochemicals. We will set up 4-step integrated product chains, which will lead to cost efficiency, better productivity, and higher margins for the company. We should be able to sell these products to our existing basic chemicals clientele, and partly will be used for captive purpose. The capacity of sulfuric acid and derivatives will be 340,000 tons per annum, which will include sulfuric acid, oleum-23, oleum-65, liquid SO3, chlorosulfonic acid, and SO2. We expect this project to generate additional revenues of around 550 crores at optimum levels, with EBITDA margins in the range of 15 to 18%. And other developments, production of TCC has been stabilized and has contributed around 22 crores at 3% of our total revenues. But due to the limitations in the containers availability for this particular product, we are not able to export it at our main target market, US. So currently, we have stopped the production at our plant, and when we start exports of this product, we will restart the plant. We are doing business in 45 plus countries and have a basket of 200 plus products. This diversification requires intense working capital resource for managing inventory of key raw materials and finished goods, along with large transit time for export markets. In event of supply chain tightness, we prefer to keep inventory and serve our customers' requirement in the less time frame. We have established various trading and marketing subsidiaries to create a stock point and penetrate new geographies and clients. Our Turkey subsidiary, Sanar Boya sales dispatches have improved meaningfully. We expect business momentum at this subsidiary to improve further going ahead. Bodal China has also performed well and has turned profitable. SPS and Bodal Chemicals Private Limited, Trading Private Limited has also performed well. In a medium to long-term view, these subsidiaries will penetrate the respective regions and will bring meaningful business to our company. Our top 3 strategic objectives would be to ramp up our existing capacity, commercialize our vinyl sulfone capacity at SPS UP unit, and complete the Saika and Rajpura project by Q3 FY23. We have been moving up the value chain and working towards diversifying the business from our core dyestuff and dye intermediate business to other specialty chemical products like benzene derivatives and chloralkali products. The world is recognizing India as the world's emerging second largest manufacturing hub, and it is evident that all manufacturing businesses, particularly chemical industries, will gain from this. Many Indian chemical businesses have got good opportunities over the last few years. Furthermore, stringent restrictions and environmental norms have structurally shifted demand to organized players like us. There were meaningful initiatives created by Indian government to reduce India's dependency and launch Atmanirbhar Bharat to increase capital expenditure by domestic players. Indian chemical company like us is poised for growth owing to the increasing preference for sustainable partners. Thank you, and now I hand over the call to Mr. Mayur Padhya to walk you through the financial performance.
Thank you, Ankit. Good evening, everyone. Overall performance of the company has been healthy for the quarter gone by. Our operational facilities are running at pre-COVID level now. This growth is driven by better price and product mix. Let's consider standalone performance. Total revenue for Q2 FY22 stood at rupees 435 crore. EBITDA stood at rupees 55 crore in Q2 FY22. Net profit for the quarter stood at rupees 31 crore. Our standalone performance for H1 FY22 is like this. Total revenue for H1 FY22 stood at 829 crore. Performance on year is not comparable due to nationwide lockdown in Q1 FY21. EBITDA stood at rupees 109 crore in Q2 FY22. Net profit for H1 stood at rupees 61 crore. Consolidated performance is like this. Total revenue stood at 472 crore for Q2 FY22. EBITDA stood at rupees 50 crore for Q2 FY22. Net profit for the quarter stood at rupees 24 crore for Q2 FY22 with growth of 114% year-on-year basis. Turkish lira has been volatile and has impacted our subsidiary Semerboya, and there is an exchange loss of around 2 crore. This impact has been already considered in consolidated financial. Our consolidated financial performance for H1 FY22 is like this. Total revenue stood at rupees 900 crore for H1 FY22 against rupees 437 crore for H1 FY21. This includes export of 34% and domestic sale of 66%. EBITDA stood at rupees 106 crore in H1 FY22 against rupees 11 crore in the corresponding period of last year. Net profit for the quarter stood at rupees 52 crore against a loss of 9 crore. H1 FY22 performance for the key subsidiaries were healthy. SPS posted revenue of 51 crore, a growth of 41% year-on-year basis. BCTPL has reported a revenue of 4 crore, a growth of 39% year-on-year basis. Semerboya has reported total income of 47 crore, a growth of 53% on year-on-year basis. Total income from China subsidiary was 28 crore, growth of 484 crore, 84% on year-on-year basis. Segment-wise performance on consolidated basis for the H1 FY22 are as below. Dyestuff revenue stood at rupees 317 crore, a growth of 122% on year-on-year basis. Dye intermediate revenue stood at 314 crore, a growth of 61% on year-on-year basis. Basic chemical revenue stood at rupees 92 crore, a growth of 95%. Chlor-alkali division and TCCA revenue stood at 102 crore and 22 crore for H1 FY22. Total production volume on standalone basis for H1 FY22, Dyestuff reported 9,518 metric ton. Dye intermediate reported 12,137 metric ton. Basic chemical reported 1,17,234 metric ton. Chlor-alkali stood at 37,803 metric ton, of which caustic soda stood at 27,711 metric ton. TCCA stood at 919 metric ton. Our net debt stood at 330 crore for the 30th September 2021 on consolidated basis. With this, I conclude the presentation and open the floor for further discussion and question answer.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may enter star and 1 on your touchtone telephone. If your questions have been answered and you wish to withdraw yourself from the queue, you may enter star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. To ask a question, you may enter star and 1. We have the first question from the line of Atul Kothari from Proquell Securities. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, please go ahead, sir.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. So my query is basically in reference with something which you have already said in the opening remarks. But if you could throw some more insight into what is happening in the China and the US chemical market. If you can elaborate more in terms of, I mean, are there any big major plant shutdown which are happening in US and China? And will this lead to a permanent structural shift, or will it be only a temporary shift in terms of the demand supply is concerned?
So in the US, because of the hurricane, it was affected. I mean, the city of Houston and the Texas area was affected, which is where the majority of the chemical plants and refineries are. But I think by end of November, it is going to be recovered and back on track. But in chlor-alkali space, particularly in US, there are 2 plants which are old. They have been permanently shut down. So
okay.
that has created a small gap in terms of production compared to, let's say, 3 months ago or 6 months ago. So that is what is happening in the US. In China, I think the reason is very different. To achieve their carbon footprint targets by 2025, I think central level government is taken over the situation of the carbon generation. And I think that is the main reason why they are restricting manufacturing which generates a lot of carbon, so where the coal is basically used. And so I think that should be target based, which I don't feel is going to ease up at least till March. So in my view, this current quarter and the next quarter is definitely going to have a lot of disturbances from China. And currently, as I mentioned, 25% production is cut in terms of the chemical plants in China. I think that is likely to continue until about February and March. And
okay.
post that, it depends on how close they get to their let's say 2022 targets. Because what I believe is, earlier they were not province level governments were not practicing what they were supposed to do to achieve these norms by 2025. So that's why the central level government had to come in the picture and now has taken the strict actions. So there may be some disturbances because China is more than 50% plus consumer of coal globally, and coal is the cheapest way to generate this energy. So they either have to shift or they have to suffer some production loss. So I think it's a transition which cannot just replace or happen in a very short time. So I think for at least 2-3 quarters there will be some disturbances, and there may be some permanent shift and changes also.
Okay, sir. And sir, are there any companies, especially in the Southeast Asian region, who are expanding their capacity in our line of products?
So in dye stuff and dye intermediate business, there is no aggressive plan from any of the leading companies. There is no any major capacity that is coming up. In chlor-alkali, there are 3 plants that are coming up here in Gujarat. So there's a joint venture between Nalco and GACL that is coming up, I think, around December. There is an expansion by Meghmani that's coming up, and there's, I think, expansion by DCM Shriram. So there are like 3 plants coming up in Gujarat in chlor-alkali. In sulfuric acid, there are no plants right now other than our plant at Saika near Dahej.
Okay. So sir, how is it going to basically? Yeah. Go ahead, sir, please.
Yeah. As far as Far East countries are concerned, there are 3 big players. One is Everlight, another one is Kisco, and the third one is Oyang. So they were grown in the time when India and China were competing for dye intermediates. So they were able to get good price from China or India. But now things are different. So they are day by day becoming weaker than what they were performing earlier. So we don't feel that they can expand, but down the line, say within few years or so, we can listen that their capacity is reduced, or which we have also feel in some of the company like Rifa. Rifa was a big company in Korea. Initially, they were producing dye stuff, but later on, because of this competition, they have stopped production of dye stuff, and they are now importing dye stuff from India. So we feel that there is no possibility that they can expand in particular our product of dye stuff in Far East countries.
Okay. So, but you mentioned that there are few capacities which are coming up in India by Meghmani and others. So how is that going to affect the demand supply scenario?
There may be some temporary, pressure, but I don't think, because if you look at last 5 years, there has always been capacities that have come up almost every year. So I don't feel that there is going to be too much of disturbances. Plus, with China's production cut, chlor-alkali plants, mostly are dependent on thermal coal plants, power plants. So in China, coal being a problem, using coal to reduce the carbon is a problem. So I think chlor-alkali is definitely affected big time, in China at the moment. So I think, that's going to, and again, China is more than 50% plus production of chlor-alkali products in the world. So I think that is also going to help. So I think at least for 2 quarters, the chlor-alkali products are supposed to be strong in terms of finished good prices. So I think it can be, this phase when the 2-3 new plants are coming, it can be diluted with the good demand. And I think with all this upcoming growth, agrochemical space, general chemical space, specialty chemicals, pharmaceuticals, so chlorine and caustic, they go into all these spaces. So I think with this aggressive growth coming in India, especially in Gujarat, I think these capacities should be okay. I don't think they should affect the market too much.
Okay, so that's great to hear. And sir, also can you please elaborate as to what was the capacity utilization of our caustic soda plant for Q2 and H1 both?
So the because the capacity is old and the technology is old, we are already in the process of upgrading the technology and also expanding the capacity. So we have some limitation right now, and the utilization as per the nameplate capacity is around 70%. But as per the current plant status, I think we are running it at around 90%. And going into next year, we are targeting to increase it by around 60-70% more, the production numbers. Yeah. So currently, we are going at the rate of around 200 to 220 crores of turnover when the prices are normal. Right now, the prices are more than double of the normal prices. And so at next year, in the normal scenario, we are expecting around 325 crores of turnover from that unit.
Okay. So, sir, in terms of capacity utilization, can you tell me the percentages for Q2 FY22 as far as caustic soda is concerned?
It's around 70% from the installed capacity angle.
Okay. And sir, just one last question. Sir, because of the spike which we saw in the spot price, so did our Punjab unit, basically as we had stated earlier, has it turned profitable?
Yeah, so currently it is definitely profitable because of the old technology. Our raw material cost is very high, which is power. But because of these extraordinary prices, which are almost double than maybe 3 months, 4 months back prices, so it's definitely very profitable right at the moment, and we are expecting for this ongoing quarter and the next quarter for Punjab unit to create some good margins for us.
Okay. Okay, sir. So that was very helpful. Thank you, sir. That's all from my end.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, to ask a question, you may enter star and 1. We have the next question from the line of Saket Kapoor from Kapoor & Company. Please go ahead.
Namaskar, sir, and thank you for this opportunity. Sir, as you were explaining the exorbitant rise in the prices of caustic soda, sir, in dollar terms, can you give some understanding what the prices were prevailing and what they currently are? And sir, for this month, for the month of October, how the trends have behaved, sir? What we exited September quarter and how is the trend as on today or any near time?
So before this issue in terms of this power cut in China, the prices of caustic were around 28,000 rupees per ton. So that is around $370 per ton. This is something of the international market. And since the power cuts in last couple of months, the current prices are around 70,000. So that is around $933. So it's almost gone 2.7 to 2.8 times in the span of 2 months. And like I said, 25% production is cut in China overall. And this particular industry where the power is a raw material and majority of the plants in China are based on coal. So I think this is affected big time. And also the coal prices were also very high until last week. So that also affected the costing to go up by about almost 100%. But even at this rise in the input prices, still the margins are very, very good.
So you said $370 to $933. This is where the trajectory is.
Before this power cut in China and versus today's price.
Right. Sir, if we take, when we look at your presentation, sir, firstly, sir, really a well elaborated presentation, sir, and thank you for the same, firstly, sir. When we look at your slide number 22, wherein in the manufacturing value chain, sir, if I understood it correctly, this caustic soda is also going to be your raw material going forward, as has been the explanation B. So currently, sir, are we before this acquisition was aligned because of this captive to be vertically integrated. That was the main reason, as we see in the input material slide, that caustic soda and chlorine are the raw materials for this. I think the Triumph chemicals and all. If I understood the flow chart correctly.
So caustic soda and chlorine are definitely a couple of the main raw materials for us. Chlorine is definitely a regional product, so we don't intend to send chlorine from Punjab to Gujarat. But caustic is a product where we can send it to our Gujarat plants and create this integration model. But until now, it's only been 6 months, and until now, we have not done that. We do have another HSC plant in North India in UP, and we are about to start our vinyl sulfone plant there. So that unit, it will be captively used. So whatever that unit requires, it will be used. But for Gujarat, till now, we are comfortably selling it in the northern Indian markets. So we don't bring it here. But if there is any shortage, or if there is any abnormal pricing or uncertainty, we can always bring the product from Punjab to Gujarat.
When we look at the input material pie chart, there are 3 elements which are in-house, part or full, and the others, the one like sulfur, aniline, naphthalene, PNCB, caustic soda, and chlorine, and also water. These are all dependent on the external one. So, sir, how have the prices of other components of sulfur, aniline, and other behaved, and how have those affected our margins of the basic chemicals and the value chain thereafter?
So other than chlorine and water, so sulfur, aniline, naphthalene, PNCB, and caustic soda, I think everywhere the prices have gone up by at least 50% or more. But luckily for us, we are able to pass on this whatever input to our finished good prices, because our intermediate space has a direct competition with Chinese companies, which again also has been affected. So we are able to pass on, all these input increase, and we are able to. So, for example, we are able to pass it on into making basic chemicals, and we are able to pass it on into making dye intermediates. So that is why the dye intermediate prices, where H-acid and vinyl sulfone are the main products, they are also about 25% of our total revenue. So those 2 products also, the prices have increased. So vinyl sulfone prices are now 400 rupees per kg. H-acid is around 600 rupees per kg. So they have also increased with this increase in the input price.
So, but when we look at your revenue for September quarter and compare it with June, the escalation is to the tune of only 10%. So the benefit of the increase in your top line will be fully translated for the December quarter. There will be a significant change in what the revenues from operation has been because of these changes in the finished and the raw material prices.
I think there will be a substantial increase in terms of top and bottom line for the December quarter versus June or September quarter.
Right. So because when we look at your, please continue. You complete.
So until about September, I think scenario was quite normal. So all the input prices as well as finished good prices were in normal range. But in September, this all started happening. So we will have the highest effect around October and November months, and it is likely at the moment. I feel that it is likely to continue till about February, March. So I think this ongoing in the next quarter, should be much better in terms of top and bottom line, versus the first 2 quarters of the year.
Okay, sir. And sir, if you could give me some sense why the September quarter PBT levels were lower than the June numbers, although there was an increase in the top line, but that does not commensurate with the bottom line. So if you could explain, there has been a reduction in finance costs.
Yeah, you are correct. Our console profit is lower when we compare to first quarter number. So this is mainly because of when we compare the prices of particularly sulfur and coal, that prices were started increasing in second quarter. So at the initial month of second quarter, the profit was a bit lower. And at the subsidiary level, SPS Processors, which is a remote plant for us, and for that we are required to do logistic cost higher compared to our Gujarat plant. So that plant we are required to stop production because the finished good prices were lower than the cost of production for some time in the second quarter. So the initial month, particularly July, was not good for the subsidiary companies as well as Bodal. That's why this effect was there. But since post 15th of September, the prices have started increasing at raw material as well as finished good level. So that's why things are better we see in the current quarter, as well as we could conclude second quarter as a satisfactory quarter.
Sir, I missed the point about this SPS processor. I think so. There is some amalgamation also. I will come to that later. But if you could explain me once more, sir, I just got broken. That SPS processor, how is this integrated, and what was that? What was the problem due to which bottlenecks due to which it was not passed on, sir? I missed your point. Come again.
Yeah. See, last con call we have said that we will start production of vinyl sulfone in the second quarter itself. But because of some non-availability from Reliance, the ethylene oxide, one of the raw material for this product. So because of that, this SPS processors couldn't perform the way it has a potential once we start production for vinyl sulfone as well as H-acid. And another thing is that SPS processors is a remote plant when we compare it with our other Gujarat plant. It is located in UP, and it is required to source some of the raw material from Gujarat. So it is required to pay some additional logistic cost, which has made it comparatively non-viable when we compare it with the Gujarat plant. So that's why that plant has not performed well. And because of that, as I mentioned, our consolidated Q2 number is not as good as Q1's number. Hope I have clarified your...
About the amalgamation, sir, can you dwell something about it? What are the rationale? And there is a dilution also in equity, 1% for promoter and non-promoter. So that if you could explain the rationale and what would it bring to the table for the company.
Sure. See, we acquired about 70% stake in this plant with intention to set up a vinyl sulfone plant at the same site, because we were knowing standalone H-acid plant is not profitable all the time. But once we have a vinyl sulfone plant along with this plant, then our economy will be better. And the reason why this is like this is some of the effluent of H-acid can be consumed as a raw material in vinyl sulfone, and vice versa. Some of the raw material, some of the effluent of vinyl sulfone can be consumed as raw material in H-acid. So when we combine both this product at the single location, our overall treatment cost, which is a significant one, reduces. And now we are at the verge of starting of vinyl sulfone plant. So even if we consider prices which were prevailing a quarter before, then H-acid has the potential to do about 100 crore turnover, and addition of vinyl sulfone can add another 100 crore. So at the normal price, it can contribute about 200 crore, but the profitability which was there in 100 crore was lesser. But when we have both this plant, then 200 crore total profitability will improve. So we can say good time for the company is going ahead. So we were considering to acquire this 30% stake, and we could finalize this with our partner, and that's why we are amalgamating this with the company. There is some nominal carry forward loss in this SPS processor as per income tax. So we will get some benefit of tax saving also by doing this amalgamation. So overall, as you know, we are now becoming stronger as far as die stuff is concerned. We are increasing our die stuff production. So at that time, if we have in our hand all this product of die intermediate, that will further strengthen our business model.
On the just to conclude, on the total, the top line contribution would be to the tune of 300 crores, that is including both H-acid and vinyl sulfone, or are the prices much higher to the tune of that? And so there will be no cash outgo. It's only with the shares that will be issued to the for the balance 30%.
Correct. So if we consider current prices, then turnover can be about 300 crore. But if we consider the normal time, then also it will be more than 200 crore turnover. Top line should be there from that unit.
Okay. And margin, sir?
And there is margin should be somewhat lower than the plant what we have in Gujarat, but it should definitely be better than 10%. That we can definitely target even in normal time. Presently, it's much better, but even if things are normal, then also we can target. And for your another question, yes, there is no cash outflow. It will be only equity swap. And going for equity swap is the reason that we are already committed for our capex at our new site, Saikha, the sulfuric acid and benzene downstream product, as well as upgradation of our Punjab unit. So we have already committed capex. So we do not want to further outflow of our cash. So that's why we are going for this.
So the total capex, can you please mention what is the total capex outlined? How much has been spent? What is in the annual, and what is the timeline of the completion, sir?
We were considering about 670 crore of cash outflow for this both unit, and out of that we have already spent 150 crore for this acquisition, and another about 50 crore we have already spent from our internal accrual. For both this, about 200 crore of outflow, we have taken about 116 crore of loan from the bank, term loan from the bank. So at the rough stage, we can say that another 425 to 450 crore of outflow will be there, and this will be in current year as well as in the next year.
670 is the figure you gave, 670 crore, out of which 150, I think this is for the SPS processor 70% stake, and 50 crore more you have spent. So that totals to 200 crore.
No, 670, out of that, almost 200 crore we have spent. So another, 470, and if we consider something, then 470, 475 crore of outflow should be there. SPS is not in picture as far as this capex is concerned.
Okay.
It is Punjab unit what we acquire from Mawana Sugar. Over there was a cash outflow of about 150 crore.
Okay. And sir, what is the current debt level, sir? Current outstanding debt as of September, and our cost of borrowing?
Current debt is about 330 crore, and our borrowing, about 150 crore we borrow in dollar currency. Over there, what we are paying is LIBOR plus 0.8%, and so which comes to about 1 to 1.25%. And the balance, some of the working capital we are getting from WCDL, for which we pay about 4.5% or 4.6%. Term loan, what we have tied up is about 6.75%. So at the blended level, we can consider 3 to 4% is the interest cost.
Okay. And the total debt is 330 crore. This is including the working capital, or sir, this is the long-term debt?
Yeah, this is including working capital. Here we are not considering the bill discounting what we carry out with the bankers. If we consider that, then there is another about 135 crore.
131, 330 plus 135 crore is the peak, and this is going to go up with when your further this capex is going to come up.
Yes.
And when will be the drawdown, major drawdown happen, sir? And that is mainly attributable to the Punjab unit getting upgraded.
Yeah, major drawdown will happen in next year because majority of the long-term delivery contract has already been executed, and we have paid them required advance. So once we start and go on for construction work, then some capex will definitely be there, but major part will be in next financial year.
Right. And lastly, the credit rating. What is our current credit rating?
Our credit rating is short term is the highest, A1 plus, and for long term it is A plus.
And our rating agency?
India rating.
India rating is.
India
Sir,
rating,
I'll come in the queue.
Yes,
sir. Yes, sir. In India, I'll come in the queue, sir. I have some points to jot down, and then I'll come back. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. We have the next question from the line of Aditya Khetan from Stewart and Mackertich. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. So my first question, as you have said in that the major raw materials, sulfur and coal prices that have started to increase in this quarter, and that has impacted the margins of the company. So is this trend continuing? Are you witnessing similar like the sulfur prices, or you are witnessing some sort of consolidation in prices? And what is your expectation for the second half margins, considering like the margins in this quarter has been 10.3%, and the first quarter also was not that good. So how are you looking the raw material prices to shape up, and what sort of margins are you looking in the second half?
Yeah, in the month of July, prices of coal as well as sulfur started increasing. But in that month, or rather in the second quarter, we were not able to pass it on this increase in raw material prices. And now we are comfortability pass it on to our final product rate. So it will not have an impact as far as current quarter is concerned.
Okay, so we can expect improvement at least from these levels, from the current levels of 10.3 for the next 2 quarters.
Yes.
Okay. So second, sir, you had also said that the vinyl sulfone prices are 400 rupees per kilo and HACid is 600 rupees per kilo. So this is the current prices. What was for the quarter?
Quarter it was 231 rupees per kg for vinyl sulfone and 379 rupees per kg for HACid for the September quarter.
Average sales price.
Okay. So we are witnessing some sort of double the levels, so current prices, what we had witnessed in the second quarter.
Yeah, so but the margins will probably not double because raw material prices also gone up, versus the second quarter. But overall, there's definitely improvement in the margin percentage also.
Okay. Okay. Sir, can you give a lot more color on the end user industries of the dyestuffs? How are they shaping? How is the market shaping right now? If you can give some more idea on it.
So since more than few months, so our majority of the sales goes into textiles, and then some of our dyes go into leather and paper. So textile sector is definitely recovered. I think it is back to pre-COVID levels. So I think there is no issue of any demand. And also we witnessed a similar kind of demand in leather industries and paper industries also. So in terms of consumption of dye stuff, I think it is definitely close to pre-COVID levels.
Okay. And sir, on the SPS process also that so the 6,000 tons per annum vinyl sulfone plant, so that has started, right, in this quarter?
No, that will start by December end. We are planning to start the trials around December. So I think we should be able to start the plant by December end.
So similar guidance was given, I think, for last 2 quarters also, sir, that the plant was ready.
Yes, it was given, but the problem is that this one particular chemical that we buy from Reliance, though everything is ready with the storages and transport and everything and the permissions, Reliance does not have any extra material. So because we are not able to get that one particular material where Reliance is the manufacturer, so we are not able to start. So we are just waiting for them to allocate some quantities to us, and then it should be a smooth production there. So the plant is ready completely. There is no problem with that, but it's just that we are waiting for this availability of this chemical.
Okay. So the last question on the caustic soda front, again, like the similar question on the prices as asked by one of the participants. That the prices today, they are at an exorbitant level, somewhere around at a decadal high, at around 65-70 rupees a kilo. So these are the current caustic soda prices. So how you see these prices to so whether these prices can maintain at these levels or what or how you see like the things will shape up here, because considering the raw material prices have also moved up. So has that spread improved or that spread has been same, considering if the caustic soda prices were around 25-30?
No, spread has definitely improved. In Gujarat, the problem with chlor-alkali players is that the coal prices also had gone up from 6 rupee levels to around 15 rupee levels. Now it is correcting in the last 3-4 days, but it's still at a very, very high cost. So so captive power plant users power cost is definitely double compared to the normal times. But we don't have a captive power plant in Punjab. So we buy our electricity from Punjab State Electricity Board at a very attractive price. That is the reason why we don't have a power plant there. So so the coal price has not affected us specifically, but majority of the plants in India are dependent on coal because they create their own power for the chlor-alkali. Till November end, I feel that there is definitely going to be a continuous increase in the prices of caustic. Post November, I think the US plants which have started again, I think their quantities will be available in the domestic market for the regular contracts. So I think there will be some soft demand, from coming in maybe in December. So that may have some impact, but I still feel overall till about March, caustic industry is definitely going to remain very strong in terms of finished good prices.
Okay. Sir, so we are also planning to set up a captive power plant. So considering now we are buying from the Punjab state government, but definitely there could be some volatility going ahead also, considering it is a DISCOM only from we are taking the.
So basically, they do long-term contracts, and they, so because of the number of industries in Punjab, the scenario is a little different than Gujarat or Maharashtra. So comparatively, they are not that much industrialized states. So large industries
if you can say the price per kilo, sir, at what price per kilo the electricity we are getting, if there is any idea on it, sir.
So per unit power is about 6.3 rupees.
6.3
So
rupees.
in Gujarat it is around 7.25. In our Punjab unit it is 6.3, and generally chlor-alkali plants, thermal power plants generate power at around 5.5 rupees. So this is the normal formulas.
Got it.
So currently the coal-based power plants could be generating power at around 10-11 rupees per unit.
Okay. And if, sir, we set up a full-fledged solar-based power plant, so like we could be using for our internal purpose and we could be selling to around third party also. Is there a plan in place, or like we would continue taking the electricity from the state government?
No, I think that we don't need to invest, like you said, I need 30 megawatt of power, where the investment could be around, including the land, maybe more than 200-300 crores. Instead of investing so much money into just some saving, I feel that, I would rather invest in expansion of the plant. I think the input cost of my power is already very attractive, because power generation cost in North India will be slightly higher than Gujarat, because the majority of the coal availability is from Gujarat. So that extra freight that happens from Gujarat to Punjab is going to affect the power generation price. So I think there is not much room for us to set up a thermal power plant there. That is why out of 4 chlor-alkali plants in North, only one has a power plant, three plants don't. Where in Gujarat, every single plant has a power plant. So I would rather invest in expansion of this plant or create some more integrated projects around the chlor-alkali space.
Got it, sir. Got it. Thank you, sir. Thank you. That's it from us.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, due to time constraints, that was the last question. I would like to hand the floor back to Mr. Ankit Patel for closing comments. Please go ahead, sir.
With this, I conclude the call, and thank you everyone for joining us today on this earnings call. For more queries, I think there were some questions probably left out. You can contact us directly or our SGA team, our investor relationship advisor. We wish you all a good day ahead and have a happy festive season. Thank you.
Thank you, members of the management. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Bodal Chemicals Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines. Thank you.